Hi, and welcome to the Transform Your Wellness podcast, a space where we explore the body, mind, and spirit connection and discover powerful ways to reclaim your health, awaken your potential, and live with more purpose, vitality, and joy. I'm your host, Karin Hagberg, also known as the Awake Wellness Warrioress, and I'm so glad you're here. Today, I'm so excited to introduce my guest, Scott Donahue. Born and bred in Australia, Scott has lived an incredibly rich and varied life. His work was taken him from laboring, real estate, and financial planning to being a triathlon coach, horse trail ride instructor, relationship counselor, men's counselor, family support worker, and even a hypnotist. He spent many years committed to his own growth and self development, exploring a range of modalities and methods. Around 10 years ago, he stepped into a new chapter of life, essentially retiring, and now devotes his time to coaching and supporting others to achieve freedom freedom from time, freedom of money, and ultimately freedom to live on their own terms. Scott has also been involved in the online business space for more than 30 years. And today, from his home in Tasmania, he's bringing his wisdom and experience into men's circles and retreats, helping create spaces for connection, healing, and transformation. I can't wait to hear his story and insight in this powerful conversation that we titled The Dance of Life. So I am welcoming you, Scott, to the podcast here today. How are you?
Thank you very much for that beautiful introduction, Karin. And I'm pretty bloody fabulous, actually, all things considered.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's fantastic. Um, so how I came across you was over social media not that long ago, over Facebook. And I kept looking at these amazing posts. It really drew me in because I really resonated with them. It was about awakening and love and relationships. Just beautiful posts that I know definitely many women would be drawn towards, but also men. Um, so that got me in contact with you, and we've started a bit of a conversation and gotten to know each other a little bit more. But I'm here today to really get to know you and what, first of all, we're going to start at the start. So,
Very, very good place to start at the beginning, yes.
so I know you're born and bred in Australia. So tell me, where were you born up, and where were you brought up?
I was raised or born in Young in New South Wales
Okay.
and then moved to the States. I lived in the States for 2 years when I was 2 years old and then come back to Australia and settled in Bathurst with my folks, obviously, and stayed in Bathurst basically until I left school. And left school, joined the Navy as a sonar operator on submarines, which was one of the things I did leave out on my bio. And have travelled around and done lots of different things since.
Wow. So you've done a bit of traveling and exploring by the sound of it.
Yeah, I went back to the States when I was 18 years old after being out of school for 2 years. My folks did a around the world trip with my two younger brothers, and I had the opportunity to go with them. And
Hmm.
I thought, do the right thing and be the big working man and stay in Bathurst and earn lots of money. That
And
didn't happen. Spent lots of money and got in lots of trouble and rang mum and dad and they said, best you get your backside on a plane and come to meet us in America. So I did that.
yeah, so what's been some of the highlights at the start of your life? Tell me a little bit about what really that you really enjoyed doing.
One of the things I enjoy most in life, um, I enjoy it when I'm doing it and being it as well, but I think I even get more enjoyment out of it when I'm watching and experiencing other people do it. And that's owning their stuff
Yeah, yeah.
and being brave and courageous and pushing through it.
Okay.
It turns me on. On the flip side of that, what grinds my gears and annoys me in life are lies and bullies. So it's the exact opposite of that that pulls at my heartstring, which is the truth, and watching people stand up for themselves
Mm, mm,
and not take crap in general in life, and just to do the inner work and to be a more evolved, loving human being. It turns me on watching that and
mm.
experiencing it. If I can assist in that in any way, shape, or form, it's
Yeah.
just absolutely beautiful.
So you're talking more about like personal development, sort of stuff, or the deep inner work of, really getting to know yourself.
Yeah, that as well, and standing up for our rights as well, which has been a bit of a factor in the last few years and still very pertinent at the moment. But in general, yeah, the big picture for me is the personal development stuff. That's what pulls at my heartstrings.
Yeah.
You mentioned at the beginning there about life purpose.
Mm,
It, for me, life doesn't actually have any purpose unless we assign it one. And so many people don't. They're
mm.
born, they go to school, they leave school, they get a job, they get married, they have two and a half kids and a white picket fence, and they retire and then they die.
Yeah.
And like, where's the purpose to that life apart from creating a couple of children
Mm, mm,
and a white picket fence? What's the purpose of that life?
mm, mm. So,
And for me, the purpose, and that's different to everybody, and it can change at any point in a given time. But for me, the whole purpose of life is to experience.
mm, mm,
The in, the out, the hot, the cold, the up, the down, the love, the fear. Like for me, this is life.
yeah. And that's what you're
And
talking about, the title, the dance of life, eh? Um,
exactly. And if we're not doing this in life,
yeah.
we're doing that. And
We
that's
don't,
flatlining. That's
I was
dead.
going to say we don't want to be flatlining, do we?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And just putting that into perspective, that little bit that I just shared then, one of the most powerful tools that I've ever come across for my own personal growth out of being down the rabbit hole for the last 30 years with it is a book called Conversations with God. Well, there's several books actually called Conversations with God. And I picked up those books to take the mickey out of them
Yeah.
because I still had an issue then with the word God. I believed in the divine or
Yeah.
universal intelligence, spirit, or whatever else you want to call it. But
Yeah.
with the word God coming from the oldest Catholic boys' high school in Australia, and I wasn't Catholic, I was there to play rugby. I had a problem with the word God. I always knew in my heart that there was this thing
Yeah.
out there, but it wasn't this bearded, judgmental, punishing male sitting in the clouds in the sky.
Yeah.
And out of that book, there's a YouTube video. It's only about 12, 13 minutes long, and it's called The Little Soul and the Sun. And I'll try and interpret it as briefly as I can. But for me, it's the human experience. And
Yeah.
it's about this little soul who's a candle in the sun before we were all here in physical life form. And this little candle went to God one day, which is the bigger picture of the sun, and said, God, this is all fabulous and loving this situation. And I know myself as this thing called love or God or spirit or divine or whatever we wish to call it. We have wars over what you call it. But I'm craving to experience myself as this thing called love.
Mm, mm,
But in that realm, there's no opposite. It
mm,
was just the light or just the love. There
mm.
was no dark, there was no here, there was no there, there was no up, there was no down, there was no in, there was no out, there was only love, no fear. It was just that. And then God said, it's fabulous, but we're in a realm where that's the only thing that exists. So
Yeah.
you can't experience what you are unless you have an opposite. And the
Mm,
little soul then had the first experience of feeling sad. Never felt sad before. And then God said, what we can do is put you in a realm where there is opposites.
mm.
Up, down, in, out, there, here, hot, cold, boy, girl, love, fear. Oh, beautiful, this is a little soul. This is wonderful. This is wonderful. I get to experience myself as this thing called love. And then in a nutshell, God says, well, there's lots of different aspects of love. What aspect of love would you like to experience yourself as? And the little soul and the son says, well, I don't know what aspects of love is. So God's rattled off a whole heap of them. And he said, which aspect of love would you like to experience yourself? And the little soul says, well, I'd like to experience myself as forgiveness. It's fantastic, says God. The only problem is there's no one to forgive. Oh, my God, sad again, says the little soul. And then all his other little souls, candles in the sun, it started to gather around because they heard this little soul was having a conversation with God. And one of the other souls stepped forward and he said to the little soul, he said, it's okay, there's no need to be sad. He said, I can help you.
Mm, mm, mm,
So how can you help me? He says, well, I can come into your next life when we go into this duality of opposites and I can come along and do something for you to forgive. So I was, oh, that's beautiful. That seems dancing and hopping. I get to be forgiveness. I get to be forgiveness. And he's saying, well, what are you going to do? Just a little bit nervously. Now the soul laughs. He said, oh, I don't know, we'll think of something. And long story short, they go off into their next life and the other soul does something wrong. And then the soul gets to forgive them.
mm,
But it says when they do that contract, the soul that's come forward to help him, he says, I'll do this on one condition. And the other soul says, why would you do this? He says, it's because I love you. He said, I'm going to do this on one condition. He said, when I do this thing that's not so nice that you'll choose to forgive me for, I need you, or desire you desperately to remember us now in our pure light form.
mm,
Because I will be trying so hard to not be me and be this light, beautiful form of love and be into this darkness and dense, heavy form that if you don't remember me now, I may not remember either, and we'll both forget and be lost forever. And for me, this is the experience of life.
yeah.
It's to experience the up, the down, the in, out, and it's so goddamn relevant to my life. And the things that I've been subjected to where I've chosen to place and action forgiveness.
Mm, mm,
So for me, it's just a beautiful, beautiful story. And that's how we get to know ourselves.
yeah.
By not being yourself. So from a soul's perspective, it's sitting back going, oh my God, this is almost orgasmic. Not only do I know myself as this thing called love, but I get to have the experience of it and not being it. So now it has some meaning and some value.
Mm.
And for me, this is the whole dance of life, the human experience. Yeah.
But Scott, what makes me think is there must have been a point in your life when you kind of started this journey of something. Did something happen in your life for you to explore or change? Or tell me about, I'm sure there was a pivotal point where you started doing, shall we say, a little bit of soul searching or finding yourself again or whatever we call it, spiritual awakening, uh, you know, dark night of the soul. I don't know how you has there been a point in your life when you kind of, yeah, something's got to change here?
Without a doubt. And there was a pivotal time in my life that was a huge catalyst for all that. I think I had it within me the whole time, as we all do.
Mm,
I don't think there's anyone on the planet that's not a spiritual being.
yeah,
We're either in touch with that and aware of it, or we're not. That's what I say. We're all light workers. You're either working with the light or against it, one
yeah.
or the other. But I was in denial of that. I didn't have any family structure or support community wise or schooling and anything to encourage that or to bring that out. And times in my life when I started to touch on that as a child, I sort of squashed it and pushed it aside because I felt like a misfit and I was a bit weird and wacky. But
Mm,
the big catalyst for me was New Year's Eve in Sydney, 86, 87 at 20 to 12. I was in the Navy at the time when I was on leave. I was at a mate's big party in his front yard, had a big bonfire going on, and it was 6 lanes of freeway at the front of his house. And there was a paddock across the road that had a fence that had fallen over with fence palings and stuff. And me and a couple of mates kept walking across the highway and getting these fence palings on our shoulder and bringing them back to the fire. And at 20 to 12, the last time that I was doing it, I walked across 3 lanes of highway, got to the centre island and looked to the left. All I could see was wood on my shoulder, and I twisted around and looked up the highway. I could see at least 100 and 150 metres up the highway of 3 lanes, and there was no car there. There just wasn't a car. And I stepped off the island and got to the middle lane of the next three lanes, and bang, I got hit by a Mitsubishi van, L300 Express van, doing approximately 90 kilometres an hour.
Wow.
And I stuck to the front of him because he didn't see me at all until he hit me. And I stuck to the front of the van. He hit the brakes, and I ended up two and a half houses down the highway in front of him. Spent the next 2 years in hospital. Was revived basically on the road. The first
Oh,
person to pull over first, and she rolled me over and pulled my tongue out of my throat. I'd swallowed my tongue. But I
oh,
woke up the next day a totally different person. Um, just the way I viewed myself, the way I viewed life. Um,
did you have
it
a,
was it was like a
I was going to say, Scott, did you have a near-death experience or
very, yeah,
did, can you
very much so.
can you recall actually leaving your body?
Briefly, not sort of consciously. Of it's a bit blurry, but I have dreamt it a couple of times where I did leave my body and I was looking down at the road and the ambulance and everyone all over the place, and there was a choice for me to come back or to opt out, and
Hmm.
I obviously made the choice to come back. Here and
How
still
old were
am, but
you then?
yeah,
You were.
22.
And what sort of injuries, by the time you woke up, what sort of injuries did you have to recover from?
I'd split my head open. There was a little bit of bleeding on the brain, but it wasn't bad. I'd broken a few ribs. I had spleen damage as well. Broke my leg in two places. Had a massive hematoma on the neck. Like for the next 2 days, 2 days after, once it swelled up, probably my neck stuck out further than the side of my head. It was huge. And that's what the doctors and the police report and everything said too. That it was the wood on my shoulder that stopped the
Mm.
whiplash effect and stopped me breaking my neck, and it
Oh,
just got severe bruising. But there was a lot of nerve damage in my neck for years before that got right again.
yeah,
And I had four knee reconstructions, two knee reconstructions on each leg as a result of that as well, because the bumper bar was just right on knee height.
yeah, yeah. So how many years did that take for you to kind of recover to a state where you were, you know?
Yeah, I was still in the Navy before they finally got rid of me. 2 years later, but it was still another year or two after that, I guess, before my body sort of got back to being as good as it's going to get. But I fought subconsciously with the change and the shift in me as a person, um, because it was new. And I was used to the old and my old mates and the old circles and the hanging around at the pubs and drinking and the going to bands and being the rat bag that I was in general.
Mm.
And I struggled with that for quite a few years before I sort of bit the bullet and went, no, that's not me. I'm not being true to myself. I'm just doing this because it's a comfort zone and that's what I'm used to. And a big hurdle for that too was leaving mates behind. I didn't want to make the changes
Mm.
in me that needed to be made because I knew the mates of mine weren't going to make them and that we'd drift apart.
Yeah. So you stayed in the army for a bit after the injury before you transitioned to something else?
Yeah, Navy. But no, I was basically still doing 4 to 6 hours rehab
Yeah.
2 years later before they
Okay.
finally said no longer fit for service.
Yeah. And then
Actually,
what did you get into after that?
we left there, worked for real estate on the Gold Coast. The Gold Coast was booming in real estate. Then left there, went to Cairns. Was in Cairns for a while. Was doing trail riding, instructing in Cairns and rap jumping, which is like abseiling but face first. Yeah, and come back to the Gold Coast triathlon assistant coach for a couple of years there. Yeah, I've had a varied work history, absolutely.
So did you do triathlons yourself or you okay.
Mm,
Wow.
yeah, in a big way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Wow. So very diverse life, I suppose, with lots of different things you've done. Um, and tell me about, you're talking a lot about being true, to yourself. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that and what that means? What's your kind of definition? What does it mean to be true to yourself?
That's a very good question. And for me, that's not something that's written in stone. Being true to ourselves is dependent on and the variables associated with that as to who I am and who I see myself as I am. And that can change and just get deeper each and every day. I don't think that that's something that's finished. Like the
Mm,
day anyone wakes up and they think, oh, I couldn't possibly be a more loving human being today, or more awake or more aware or more conscious if I tried, well, you might as well stay in bed forever. The game's over. Because for me, it's a deeper and deeper process of growing and evolving and realizing who and what we are.
mm,
And we've been misled about who and what we are. And for me, every master and guru that's walked the planet, there's two things that they've stood by basically, and that's know thyself, not believe in thyself, know thyself,
mm,
and live in the now. The
mm,
past is history, the future is a mystery, the now is a gift. And that's
mm,
why it's called the present.
mm. So, what would you say to people, maybe, or anyone, but maybe more particularly men, because I understand you worked a lot with men, maybe more than women, is that correct?
Yeah, it's fair to say.
Yeah. If they're, if men feel like, or women for that sake, feel like they feel a little bit lost. They yeah, they've lost their footing due to me. I mean, it could be anything in life from, even just, I shouldn't say just, but divorce or any major kind of thing in life. What would be your first thing if they say, I don't know who I am anymore? They've lost themselves. What kind of, should I say, no, like advice would you give someone like that? They just feel totally lost, like they lost themselves because it sounds like you've been there at some point of in your life. What would you suggest to that person that, I just feel like I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what the purpose in life is. I'm just lost.
And so many people, I think everybody, pretty much, goes through that at some stage in life. And just relevant to that in the last few weeks with the latest Lionsgate portal and the full moon, etc., that was going on. I can speak for myself and so many other people that I'm in contact with around the world, for that matter, have felt that exact same thing. Just lost, lonely. What's the point in life? Who am I?
Mm.
Um, and they're brilliant questions. And sometimes we don't even need an answer for them, for that matter, either. It's just something that will pass.
Mm.
But yeah, it's getting to know self. So much of that is getting away from other distractions,
Mm.
especially technology,
Mm.
and being busy
Mm.
in general is the biggest restriction from us getting to know ourselves, which is all by design, in my opinion. It's the biggest addiction in the Western world is being busy and being addicted to drama, which is also all by design with
Yeah,
Mills and Boon books and Hollywood and all the
yeah,
soapies on TV and everything else. It's all about drama.
yeah,
So yeah, it's about stopping and smelling the roses and taking time out just
yeah.
to be still and reflect. Like one of my great analogies that I've used for many years is on a pond of
Mm.
water. If it's windy and blowing and rainy and yucky, you can't see a reflection
Mm.
on the water because it's not still.
Yeah.
But when the wind's still and there's no breeze and everything's just,
Mm.
it's like glass.
Mm.
It's a perfect reflection. And we can't reflect on ourselves unless we stop
Yeah.
and smell the roses and just be. We're human beings, not human doings. Whatever we're focused on doing, we're going to end up with a whole heap of doo-doo and doo-doo shit. Sorry, I wasn't meant to swear.
It is, it's such a good answer, I think, because we live in a world that's so busy and there's so many distractions out there. And I think, as you say, it's all by design. And isn't it a little bit sad that we get to the point where we have to ask ourselves that question, who am I? Where that in its like to me, I feel like we really complicate the simple things in life, if that makes sense.
Very much
Because,
so.
you know,
The other huge factor with that too that I probably should have added is because we've all been programmed and the system is designed for us not to remember who and what we are. And there's so many factors with that. Organised religion's a massive one, which I can go into further if you like. But it just highlights the importance for me of that circle of influence around us, the circle of friends that
mm,
we have. So when we are feeling wobbly and we're on our knees
mm,
and we've forgotten who and what we are,
yeah,
we've got people to remind us.
yeah,
And for me, just touching on that too, hundreds of thoughts, hundreds of emotions, but when you break them all down, they all stem from one of two places, either the love or fear.
yeah,
And when we're coming from love, it's the essence of who and what we are. And
mm,
if we're coming from fear, we've literally forgotten
mm,
who and what we are.
yeah,
So all the more reason to be hanging around people that are going to remind us of who and what we are when we've forgotten, like the little soul in the sun, like that message in that.
yeah, yeah. And having that support and connection, which is by being busy all the time, going to work, coming home, you know, just doing all the time. Not, and I mean, a lot of people, they have, the TV on. They don't even, the phones, they don't even sit down and have proper conversations at the dinner table, let alone eating together or cooking together. All those simple things that I absolutely have always treasured with my family, or I don't even know what a TV is. I haven't had a TV for years, and even my children were grown up without a TV by both their parents most of the time, and we had this kind of rule that we sat down and ate, and that was the point of conversation. And I got to share a little thing with you, Scott, that I think is so beautiful. Even though my daughter and her family, my son too, they've got TVs now, but my daughter's got two kids, and um, they watch too much TV, I think, but they still take time they've got a little bit of a thing they do at the kitchen table when they eat dinner, and that is that they go around the table and they say, what was the good things that happened for you today? And what were some of the things that weren't really so good? So this is something they do. Even the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old, and it is so beautiful, and they have to learn to listen. So we have got that, and I think about that something obviously that I didn't do exactly that way, but we always had fun, deep conversation at the kitchen table, and that is so important to do. We're missing that now. I mean, I myself feel that we need to go back to that. We need to go back and have that connection. What do you reckon, Scott?
We're wired for it.
Yeah.
We're the ultimate pack animal. Like even the best bloody trackers and bushmen in the world can't live sustainably by themselves.
Mm,
They have There's too many things to do apart from needing the physical connection and the chat and the cuddle and everything else. There's too many things to bloody do each day for one person.
Yeah.
We're wired for connection. We really are the ultimate pack animal.
Yeah.
And this is one of the big things I'm on about, is putting unity back in community,
Yeah.
back in the bloody family as well, but everywhere. And again, this is all by design, to break up community, to break up family. The
Mm,
establishment can't control people that are united and that aren't scared. So
mm,
they want to separate it, or living in the illusion of separation, because there's no separation at all in reality,
yeah.
and living in fear, because you can't control people that are united and not fearful.
Mm, mm, yeah. And the last few years obviously been very highlighted in that area where we were told to, stay at home, not have the connections. We were obviously asked to, not see family really because, there were a lot of fear that was put out there, and that's obviously.
And the big point for me to
Mm,
do with all that nonsense is that none of it was justified.
no, yeah,
Could almost understand it if it was,
yeah,
but it wasn't justified. There's no science, there's no evidence. The science and the evidence are all supporting what I'm saying now, that it
mm.
wasn't justified and that it was a complete blown bloody facade. But anyway,
But
that's around
that
that.
obviously caused a lot of, um, I think
Trauma.
it caused a lot of trauma.
Oh, freaking
Absolutely. I can relate to that myself. I mean, I reflect on it now after what actually I went through in my life, and the choices I made and their impact. And um, you don't necessarily realize when you were right into it, but it was huge for me. And I still now to this day having to kind of, yeah, do the healing work in that. And I don't you believe that a lot of people are in that stage, and a lot of people in um, a little bit of a stage of confusion too with the whole thing, of how to deal with it.
like, like deer in the headlights.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
do you believe that this journey you were on, that, from the injury and you going on this big, uh, like personal growth journey, I would say it's more of a spiritual awakening journey, isn't it? Because you're going back to connecting with what you really are. Would you say that made you see things clearer than maybe the majority did at, when this intense period started a few years ago? Do you think the work on yourself made you kind of go, hang on there? You were more connected with spiritually, so you saw things perhaps differently to what other people perceived it as?
I think that is a factor for sure, but I also think I had a lot of insight or awareness, probably, as opposed to insight, way before my spiritual journey as well.
Mm,
Um, and just highlighting that a little bit too, like over the last 4 or 5 years, I was pretty loud speaking out about the COVID nonsense. Um, and attended nearly every rally here in Tasmania and spoke at most of them, just trying to educate people about the truth and reality of what's bloody going on,
yeah.
and highlighting the dismissal of really important facts. But one of the things that really stood out to me was the people that were standing up and speaking out and could see what was going on. So many of them were the black sheep of the family, and a lot of them were the troublemakers at school that just weren't paying attention and weren't interested in what was going on. and
mm,
were more interested in what was going on outside in nature or bloody wherever else, but they weren't really interested in what was being put on the blackboard at
yeah.
all. They were switched off. They were always in trouble for not paying attention.
Mm, mm,
So I think, yeah, it's just an inbuilt bloody guidance system that some people seem to have.
mm, mm. And
Well, to touch on that too, like I actually think there's more people in the world that can see what's going on than meets the eye.
mm,
But I think a lot of people start to see what's going on with the establishment and how unjust everything is, or
mm,
most things.
mm,
And when they start to look at it, it makes them uncomfortable.
mm, mm.
And we've all been programmed not to feel our uncomfortable feelings.
Yeah, that is a big a truth. I feel that, and that's why, as I see it, humanity hangs on to so much trauma because we are programmed that certain feelings are not so good to have. Um, like yeah, we kind of taught to it's not good to feel certain things,
It
and
reminds me of one of the posts I use regularly on Facebook where we're not here to learn how to deal with trauma.
mm,
Most of us are very well versed in that.
mm,
What we're here to learn to do now is to experience and embrace joy
mm,
because that's what's foreign to us.
yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people will stick with what's comfortable, even if that's painful and yucky and good. That's what they know, so that's what they'll stick with.
Yeah, the familiar is what we tend to stick with. It's always hard to be comfortable with it. We have to make that unfamiliar familiar, don't we? To create any change, that's the only way. And as you say, we have been obviously programmed in so many ways, subconsciously, for a lot of people until you get to the point where usually when something bigger in life happens for you, where you are kind of nudged into spiritual growth, as I see it, or healing. You're nudged into something's got to change, and then you step into this unfamiliar and not very nice period in time where you're up for this massive growth, which is not often talked about, how very, very hard and confronting it can be when you go through let's call it a spiritual awakening or a big change in life.
When
Um,
you've been buried and it's dark and you're covered in shit.
yeah.
But that's the perfect fertilizer for growth.
I love it. That's great. That's great. Hey, can I ask you though, personally, we'll say in the last 5 years, what's been your biggest personal lesson? I love the laugh, smile.
Ooh, there's been a few. One of the big ones, well, yeah, the big one, and I guess I knew it a long time ago. I forgot it when the COVID nonsense first started, but I've been reminded of it, and I'm just reminding myself deeper and deeper and deeper all the time of it. That the external world is a reflection of our internal world. The universe is you in verse.
Mm. Can you say that again?
The universe is you in verse.
Thank you. I just wanted everyone to hear that because I thought that was very, very good.
9 times out of 10 of the things that people are struggling with and squirming with that are uncomfortable with that are happening in the external world, even with the bloody establishment and the system and the way things are going, they're guilty of doing the same things in their own personal life
Yeah.
themselves.
Mm, mm,
And that's how we change the external world is by changing our internal world.
mm, mm,
That's the same with the relationship factor, I think I've shared with you previously.
mm.
Essentially, we're only ever having one relationship, and that's the relationship with ourselves.
Yeah, yeah,
And all of our external relationships are a reflection of that.
yeah, yeah.
We are that powerful.
Mm, mm,
And the establishment does not want us to know this. We are co-creators with God. It's one of the very few sentences in the Bible that I agree with.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So coming back to all the beautiful posts you post about love and self-growth, obviously that reflects that really.
And sex,
What's that?
and relationship, and
And
sex,
and
and
relationships
relationship.
and sex too, and
And for
and
me, the God, sex, money, but especially God and sex are two of the most important things to be speaking about on the planet at the moment.
mm, mm,
They really are, because so much of our identity about who and what I am stems from my belief system externally of what the divine is.
mm, mm,
And for me, sex is just what the whole cosmos operates about. It's not about penises and vaginas. It's about synergistic energy exchange. We're having a synergistic energy exchange now in this podcast.
mm, mm,
That's what karma is. You do good stuff, you get good stuff back. You do negative stuff, you get negative. This is synergistic energy exchange. It's the way the whole world works.
oh, I
And
love
the
that.
establishment knows this, and that's why they've inverted it and contorted it and brought it back to just physical bits and penises and vaginas and
Mm,
30 seconds of bloody pleasure is what they think. It's not about
yeah,
it's in the
yeah,
relationship bit for me too. I saw I bang on about that so much. Life is all about relating
mm, mm, mm,
to people, to places, to things, to experiences. And it's how I relate or interact with all of those things that determine my level of joy in life.
mm. And
And we
I
can't really
know,
know ourselves without the other. That's why
absolutely,
it's supposedly so easy to reach enlightenment sitting in a cave. Yeah, I've got a problem. Well,
yeah,
you bring in that person's family or their ex, and
yeah.
then now see if they've got any. Hang on, I'm not quite so enlightened.
Mm.
We can't know ourselves without the other, and that's the whole purpose of deep, intimate, loving relationships: is to bring our staff to the surface and to show the places where we're wounded and unloving and fearful and damaged, not damaged but wounded.
And I know we spoke a little bit about that the other day when we connected, and I was asking you a little bit about, about relationships because um, I hear it from so many people. Both I speak to a lot of people open up to me when it comes to relationship stuff. Maybe it is because I'm a fairly open person and I like listening and talking to relating to people. And I always say that,
Probably not a maybe involved.
what's that?
Probably no maybe involved.
But I do feel myself that as a woman, I feel that we are meant um, to, I mean, I strive best when I am in a relationship. I always feel that even though you say it brings up, it brings up your wounds, it brings up everything, but that's a beautiful thing because we're meant to have that to grow. And a lot of people say to me that, we live in such a throwaway society, as you said, it's all about sex. It's all about the physical appearance, that sort of the superficial things. But what about the treating people? Um, first of all, obviously, when you get together as you know, as a couple, obviously there's got to be some energetic connection there. But then once you get involved with a person, it's like we live in this society now where as soon as something gets a little bit tough, something happens, it's like throw away, goodbye, that's it, that's hard. And I think the world is kind of waking up a little bit. People are starting to be nudged that the soul is telling them they want to be close. They want that connection, even though they try to deny it a lot of the time. Because I mean, I know we're meant to be in, have that kind of feedback. And so, hence why I think a lot of people get so touched by all the, posts that you're doing because it's stirring something in their deep down in their soul. They look at it and they go, I wish I had that masculine that could hold the space for me, that beautiful, beautiful love. There's some sort of longing for that now, Scott, I believe. I don't know if you can elaborate on that.
I think we're all longing for it. These deep, intimate, loving, beautiful connections. We're all wired for it. And the more we can do that with ourselves,
Mm,
the better chance we've got of having that with others.
mm.
Or the depth and the
Yeah,
level that we can do it with ourselves determines the depth and the level that we have it with others. It
yeah.
comes back to ourselves every time.
And as you said, the most important thing or relationship we have is obviously the relationship with ourselves. And I found myself that there are times where I have found myself as being through uh, lots of time of spending just with me without any distractions, really just starting to just absolutely, I mean, it's a beautiful love. And then once you enter into any kind of relationship, yeah, as you say, the wounds are going to be, you know, brought up. And I don't see that as a bad thing. I see it as, I mean, I've heard some people say, but I've got to wait until I'm perfect. I've got to work on this until I'm in a relationship. And I go, oh my God, no one's, we, like, it's about embracing everything, isn't it? The more we push away the shadow side of us, the more it's going to come back and bite us, isn't it? Really?
Completely. It's like one of the posts I saw the other day. It said, if you ever reach perfection, you're going to be very, very lonely.
Yeah, yeah.
Because no one else on the planet's perfect. Like
Mm,
we're all a work in progress.
mm, mm.
I don't see anyone walking on water just yet.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about we finally sort of come to the, I suppose, the now situation with you. What are you really loving in your life at the moment, Scott?
The freedom that I have, probably more than anything else. Um, Time freedom, anyway.
Hmm.
Yeah, not having worked for 10 years now, I just love being able to do whatever I bloody like, pretty much.
Mm,
Most days, I get out of bed when I like. I've got a morning routine where I'm out of bed at 5:30, 6 o'clock, but I don't have to. I could get out of bed at lunchtime every day if I wanted to. And hang out in the bush and go and cut firewood and ride my motorbike or go fishing or whatever I want, play my guitar, bloody lie around and sunbake, dance, whatever I bloody want to do. Um, it's just, I'm very, very grateful
yeah.
for being in that situation in life at the moment.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
and I'm quietly excited about what happens next too. I've got a really, really exciting online business, which you know all about, which I've just jumped on board with in the last few weeks. But out of everything I've looked at in the last 25 years, I'm more excited about this than anything else.
mm,
Um, and the projects that myself and my housemate Alina are looking at putting together in the not too distant future as well, to do with sound healing, massage, relationship counselling,
oh, wow.
plant medicine ceremonies, men's retreats, women's retreats, that sort of thing. That's all there for the taking as well.
Yeah.
So
Oh, it sounds like you've
exploring
got some exciting things coming up. And
too.
what's about the area you're in now? You're in Tasmania, aren't you?
Yeah, I moved down to Tassie about 20 years ago from the Big Island.
Yeah.
Um,
And how
and
come
I
you
was out.
moved down that way?
Why Tassie?
Yeah.
There was lots of reasons, actually. My partner at the time, we had twin girls, and we were the agreement that we were going to break up when we got to Tassie, and we both agreed to live in Tassie to raise the children, basically.
Okay.
It's one of the best places in Australia to raise children by far, and it's just the peace, the quiet, the country atmosphere. And I did actually, part of the decision making was on the off chance that these times that we're in now may actually come to fruition. I actually didn't really think it would happen while I would be alive, but it has. It's here now. But yeah, that was a big factor. When I looked on a map of Tasmania, there's just blue lines everywhere with creeks and rivers and streams and underground springs and lakes. There's just fresh water everywhere down here, and the food supply's pretty good too. So I thought if the shit's ever going to hit the fan, and when you're in survival mode in a big way, Tassie's probably the place to be. So that was a motivating factor. Yeah,
I might have to take my ocean ski and paddle to Tasmania then if something happens.
for sure. And that's doable too, isn't it? People do that.
People actually do. I've had friends that have done that for sure. It's pretty crazy. They have to be very well prepared. But the longest stint, someone asked me if I wanted to do it, and I said no. I have got kids and grandkids. I have to actually be a little bit responsible for once.
Yeah.
So I did. I decided not to do it. But yeah, the
Right.
longest stint is 16 hours. And I just think, yeah, you basically fill your sea kayak with everything. So you carry food, water, tank, clothing, extra paddles, flares, everything. But I kind of think once you're out there and the weather changes, I mean, they've got all this things, but I still can never forget when I went over 1990 with the old ferry when I went to Tasmania to compete at the World Rowing Championships 1990. I was with a Swedish team and we took the ferry over from Melbourne and it was so rough, Scott. It was absolutely. I woke up like 2 a.m. and it was like, woo! And there were people throwing up everywhere. And I just thought, this is it. And I promised myself I'll never go on a ferry to Tasmania again. But I know since that the ferries are much better. But I can't imagine being on a, you know, in like they it can be super rough out there. But they reckon they listen to all the weather forecast and they can, I just wouldn't trust in that completely though. But I've had many people that I know that have actually done it. Yeah,
Big
bit
call.
bit crazy.
Big call. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you sounds like you're in a bit of creation mode with what you're doing now with your online business and also maybe setting up some retreats again and things like that. Sounds really exciting.
Tis.
Mm.
Tis going to have a reason to get out of bed each day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So is there something else you'd really like to share with the listeners? Um, Yeah, feel free to something that you really from your heart that you really want the listeners to hear.
Ma.
It wasn't very specific, was it? But just
I
something.
guess, I guess for me, um, the most powerful and pertinent, short, punchy advice, suggestions that I would give to people is just enjoy the ride
Yeah,
and the dance of life. Just enjoy it. Do what pulls at your heartstrings.
yeah,
Don't take it too seriously. There's
yeah.
no messing it up. There's no getting it wrong. There's no judgment day. No one's going to hell.
Mm.
Just relax.
Oh. You've just given everyone permission, Scott, to just be more gentle on themselves because life is can be really serious and follow the heart as you said before, focus on joy a little bit more. Don't take things too serious. Go with the flow, allowing yourself to have ups and downs. It's
And follow
really,
your heart and your intuition. Our intuition is our inner tutor.
yeah, inner
Get
tutor.
out of our, get out of our heads as much as possible and come from here. Listen to your inner tutor, your intuition,
Yeah.
your vibes. We're being guided all the time. The feelings are the language of the soul.
So I've got one more question for you. If you could do anything, you wake up tomorrow morning and the sun is shining and you following your intuition, what would be the first thing you would do or want to do when you wake up in the morning? The first thing that comes to your mind.
To hug my children.
Yeah.
And
Mm,
obviously got a son that's passed, so I can't physically hug him.
mm,
But it would be my other three daughters to look into their eyes and hug them every morning.
mm.
Be a beautiful thing.
I think you've just connected into what truly is important for obviously yourself, but for a lot of people when maybe we come to the end of this dance of life and we're about to say bye. I ask myself that actually on a daily basis, Scott, and I go, how do I want to live my life today? And what's really truly important to me. And in the end, for me, it's about being true to me, but really express love to the people that are there, uh, in my life and that I care about. And it doesn't have to be just family. It's about being appreciative with souls like yourself, Scott, because I'm very grateful. I intuitively tune into connecting with people, and you're one of those souls that it's like, I see your soul, and then I have this thing that I really want to reach out and connect. So I am very grateful for having, asked you a few, you know, questions today, and I'm sure the listeners have gotten a lot of good nuggets from this. The listeners are able to reach out to either of us. There will be descriptions um, in the description in the podcast, and also this will be also on YouTube. So make sure you check out the description. We'll have all the information there, so you can reach out to either of us, ask us anything, and we'll be happy to answer you. And of course, also make sure you subscribe and share this, because both me, I would say you too, Scott, we're here to kind of, I guess, awaken or awaken our spirit to be more to the love that we have within and connect. So by spreading and sharing all this, I know it will touch some people's heart. And as you said, that's where we need to come from. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing so deeply, Scott. And yeah, thank you so much for all the listeners. Is there anything you want to share before we go?
Not that I can think of. I'll probably think of something as soon as we end the recording, but for now, yeah, out of words, I guess, and that doesn't happen very often. But yeah, thank you very much. I'm very grateful for the opportunity and the invite.
Yeah.
And it's been a lovely chat and fantastic connecting.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.